Just a little something different. Um, this was the last scientific illustration I did for the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles. Oh, maybe 16 years ago. But this was at the height of my scientific abilities working for the museum. And we did have a Mosasaur skeleton in-house. And I'm just going to zoom into that and show what my reference was. So I drew out the skeletal structure and then started to develop my idea. Now, mosasaurs have a really weird tail, as you can see from this, and it makes, in the fossil records, kind of a weird back end. Now, this is kind of what I would call the best I could ever do with watercolors as a medium. And you can see the detail. Hopefully, we're about maybe 2 inches away. Anyway, so this is kind of, I use this as a demonstration also. If you notice, there's kind of a little bit of a dark shade in here, and you can see the scaling, possibly weird skin texture, but it gives the illusion of the chest popping out and going in. Now, I try to explain this to my students about the curvature of a line will indicate movement, which is almost making it 3D, but also this is a flat 2D surface. But by curving the lines and the shadows, you can see the shadow down here, it will make it look like it's serpentine. Anyway, so that is what I'm going to stop right there. Now this is another watercolor. Now I use this for reference for my students. Now the mountain down here is from New Mexico, and we did have a Carnotaurus at work, but as you can tell, hopefully you can tell, it does have some three-dimensional form. The lines are really super indicated, but this is only so that I can teach my students the technique. It's really hard to explain by the curvature of the line, but if you could actually see the curvature of the line going in and out, it actually pushes out the chest, goes back in, and comes down to the belly. This too is really super defined. I mean, but I did this so the students would understand what I'm talking about. And you can see it looks like sections, and with the light and dark, it does make it somewhat three-dimensional. Now I'm going to do a demonstration on this, so I'm going to try to bring this to the level of the mosasaur, mainly because I'm not teaching anymore and I want to work on some stuff I worked on 20 years ago, or somewhat, no, it was maybe 17 years ago. Just kind of fine-tune it. So this is a thing that I've had for a long time. I don't need to use it as a demonstration, so I'm going to actually do some work and soften things in. So the first thing I'm going to do is soften the edges. So, like I was saying, these lines are way too prevalent, and I need to soften the edges, which means blend, reconstitute the watercolor, so they're not so And this is somewhat of the layering process. This is what I would be doing. So you still get the effect of the roundness because of it's following the lines, but just on a subtle path now. And if you go back, you will see how they're changing slowly. And when I'm doing this process, I'm also looking for little teeny variations. Something that only no one would know, me going back into it, because that's just the way things work. But that's the subtleties that bring things together. Now, I'm just going to come over some spots. Now, if I just darken this just a slight bit, it'll make the eye pop more. Now, I'm using an umber just to enhance the shadows, but not overstate the three-dimensionality. And I can't show you the whole thing, but I'm going to move to another section as soon as I get it to a comfortable stage. Now, a comfortable stage to me now is seeing slight little variations that help with the painting. You know, it could be just a little bit of a shadow underneath the horn. Now, I'm not in full scientific mode. I know that sounds weird, but that's my puppy Senna. She must have spotted somebody. So I'm not going to the nth degree anymore, because that was a requirement for the museum when I was a scientific illustrator. And I don't need to do that now. I just have to paint for my pleasure. So what will work for me, not having some scientists with a magnifying glass looking at every line, crack and crevice to make sure it's in their better interest. And I understand that. The last thing a scientist or paleontologist wants to do is have some other paleontologist see something they didn't catch, which makes them look. Now, adding a little brown and purple to this bottom part, there's a little bit of a hint of green. So that just helps with the shadowing. And you can see there's slight little differences, but it's the little differences that make me happy. So I'm going to hold off right there. Okay, so hopefully you notice the difference in the subtlety near the neck and face. Now I'm going to come into here because this is just really super overpowering. And I'm going to blend out this too. Hopefully you don't overwork this and destroy all your work, so some of the scales still show up, but not eliminate completely. So you look for the shadows down here. Now, the shadows down here are pretty nice. I'm not going to do too much to that, but there's a little shadow here that should be blended in just to make the hand pop out a little bit. This darker shade, you can see the green tints in here. Now, I know that what I'm painting and what people are seeing on the film from a camera, the colors will be completely off. Now I'm going to blend this a little bit. I'll lighten that up a little bit with a highlight on the back. Like I said, I'm just blending things out so that it makes sense to me now. And these will have other little layers coming back in. I'll see spots that are too light and the line is still overpowering, and maybe come in to blend into the subject. So I'll have to lighten it up. And it's just a matter of layers going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And making the lines again, lightening them up, add a little shadow to some of the scaling. But what I'm seeing already here is something that's working for me. Now I like this little light up here, kind of like a sunlight reflection. So now I'm going to come back in here and just pull out some color. And I might have to pull out more color. As you can see, it's lighter. And I'll do that, just slowly make the highlight. If it's totally not bright enough, I may add a little bit of white. I don't usually do that, but sometimes it just needs a little bit of a kicker. See, hopefully you can see the difference between this area here and this. And like I said, this is for demonstration purposes so they can understand the process of what I was telling them about the curvature of the line, adding dimension. Now, I'll probably stop it there and work on my dinosaur and add more layers, and you'll see the finished product, and then you can make a comparison. Okay, so this is a little bit of an update. Hopefully from this angle, which is maybe a foot away, somewhere in there, maybe a foot and a half, hopefully you can see the softening of the edges. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit, or a lot. Now this may not be popping out crazy from the other one unless you go back. But if you do, you're going to see some very slight shadows coming in, and the lines are not so devastating. But I'm also going to show you extra work that I did on my pterosaur. So softened a lot of the lines, blended, added shadows, and oh, this is a Sternberg, just a different pterosaur type. But if I zoom out, you can probably see the subtleties the way normal people would see it. Now, if you look at your YouTube things on TV, it's really super magnified, so things will show up better, or on a computer. But I'm pretty happy with it now. I may, like everything else I do, I'll look at it for weeks and then see little teeny things that just pop out, which I kind of see already. There's a little bit of a reddish area right there. That's the kind of madness I go through. But from what it was before, for me, it's like night and day. Anyway, take care. Hello, I'm Steve Melendres, a model maker, illustrator, scientific illustrator, sculptor, design after history museum in Los Angeles. Done a lot of different things, but I'm going to be doing watercolor demonstrations of the techniques I've developed over the years. and it's going to go from a lot of different directions. And also I'm going to be doing videos, I call them video posters for my daughter. So a lot of stuff that I can leave to my daughter about her crazy dad. So I'm taking a lot of different directions, but mainly three. So anyway, that's my introduction that I'm going to attach to everything I'm doing now, so I don't have to repeat this. Be careful out there.